Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to Reaction Time, where we react to the time. It's currently, I'm not wearing my watch time.
9:30.
I can't react to that. We failed you. Goodbye, we're logging off. Anyway, Steven's here. Eric's here. This podcast is brought to you by the FNKY Games network of content production and shirt production. Steven, do the plug.
Go to the Funky store where you can get apparel. There's a ton of good merch up there. There's t-shirts. It's summertime, baby. Time to show off those COVID 30 that y'all got, and you flaunt it in a nice, like, tight package with awesome gaming references, like dead games, like Overwatch 2, a very dead game. Funky.store. Check it out.
There you go. Anyway, we're here to talk about League of Legends playoffs across the world. Some of which are done, some of which are temporarily done, and some of which just keep rolling on down. So we're going to start with the ones that are done and or kind of. We'll start with the LCK final. We recorded last week when it was down to, as expected, Gen G and T1 after Dom1's stunning collapse in Game 5 of the Gen G series. Which we're going to come back to that game, because that game came back again this week. Ugh. And sure enough, T1 did complete the perfect season, and won 3-1 in the final. And I know it was quite the occasion. I think they had fans there. I know that there was a lot of people who were quite impressed with the production value and the opening ceremony of the final that happened. So they did a good job, but in the end, like, it kind of went how we expected it to go, right? I think, like, Eric even might have called 3-1 for T1 in that series. So, Eric, did you have a chance to watch those games, and what did you think of T1?
I did not watch those games. It sounds like they did exactly the same stuff yet again, and then won a lot. Some of the commentary I heard is that Keria, like, would play Tom Kench and then, like, would, like, eat Faker and on Ahri and then drop him into the enemy team to land Charm, which is some big brain stuff right there.
Or rude dude behavior.
Yeah, that would have been Game 3. The picks we saw a lot of Jinx Xayah being the priority across the series. So we saw game one was Caitlyn against Ezreal in the bottom lane, and then games 2, 3, and 4, Gumayusi played Jinx all 3 games. Ruler played Xayah all 3 games, and Gen G won the first one of those. They won game 2 of this set, but then it didn't kind of work there. So I'm interested in that priority and sticking to the Xayah pick, which we've started to see come up. I assume it was the lethality Xayah build that has been the new hotness kind of within the AD meta across the world. Steven, what do you think about lethality Xayah in general, not even specifically in this series?
Well, I think it's a good pick just because, like, Xayah has that innate safety, so you can get your damage down pretty much every time. And she still has late game scaling with a lethality build, right? Just because of the DPS she puts out. So I think you're just getting the best of both worlds, where you're not sacrificing very much. You get a cheaper build path, and you're still going to have that damage and be a late game threat.
Yeah, and it's I'm interested that it was the Caitlyn went through game 1 and then Gen G banned it the rest of the series, so they may have been testing some waters with letting it through the first time.
Can I ask the bigger question? What is Akshan doing in here? In at least game 4? Can you explain this to me?
Man, I didn't know what to tell you. Do we have 8 unique top lane champions in this series, by the way? We did.
Yeah.
No, 7. Sorry. Damn, 2 Camille games.
Yeah. Because, like, I see, like, when you're looking for a ranged option into Kennen, I guess, because Jace is banned, but Gnar isn't. Like, I just don't see the value of Akshan in this game 4. Not that I don't know. It didn't do well, so
I don't like this team comp.
it's booty. It's actual booty, and I don't see where it's supposed to be effective outside of maybe winning early lane trades. Like, what is your? Is it just like ruler is supposed to hard carry?
You've picked Yumi, right? You're
Right.
picking Yumi game 3, game 4, with the lethality Zaya, who scales well, but isn't like your traditional hyper carry that you expect, like the Jinx on the other team.
Right.
Like, and you're picking it into Kench and Thresh, respectively, in games 3 and 4. So, like, you're losing utility from your bottom lane. You're playing in, like, Zaya is... She has her R for her get out of jail free button, but you have Thresh Hook, you have Charm, you have Viego's stuff, and you have, like, if a Kennen gets onto a Zaya with Slicing Maelstrom, she can push R. She's probably still going to get stunned up when she comes down. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like this goes together well. Eric, what do you think of the picks here?
So you didn't want to immediately talk about Game 5 of the Damwon series, but it sure seems like teams have like super opted into in like winner go home games to draft like the most BS win lane win game comps possible, repeatedly. So this sure seems like another one of those, because like the Gnar into Kennen is like a neutral lane where you like get kind of bullied early, but then you outscale in team fights. The Akshan into Kennen is a winning lane where you're expecting to win,
But
and so I mean, teams have really not done good at drafting on stage in game 5s or game 4s so far this playoffs. It definitely seems like it's players like really pushing for picks they're confident on in the early stages of the game.
Well, the interesting part
Yeah.
from that aspect is, like, you only changed the solo lanes from game 3 of this set, because game 3 they also have Lee, Zaya, Yumi.
Yeah,
You
so
just
Lee
you swap.
and Zaya are extreme early game picks. Like
Yep.
the reason the Zaya has the priority is because Zaya can win lane and bully theoretically against the hyper carries. It doesn't actually work that way most of the time, but like the mental is that it wins. And
Because, like,
so
we're gonna see in other regions this is where Aphelios lives, because there's no Aphelios at all in this entire series. Where we saw in NA, there's Aphelios all over the place into the Jinx matchup.
Aphelios is picked ahead of Jinx in LPL. Like the teams will
Right,
opt
like,
into the Aphelios side in pick ban, and then like use it to win games. So like there's very clear preference for having winning lane, but then also having scaling, and so it just seems like in these like final games of sets, teams like lose their minds a bit, and then the players opt into things that aren't necessarily ideal.
mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm wondering if T1 really was challenged enough to where they come to the world stage or MSI, and if they might get clapped. That'd be interesting to see, to have a perfect season and then go to something like MSI and then just like not perform for like in-game reasons. That would be insane to see. But like looking at this, it's just like the decision making, like it does seem that T1, at least in this set, was doing like a top prio, like, because Owner and Zeus like absolutely clapped Peanut and Doran. Is like Doran just like bad?
Yes.
Okay.
Top laners in LCK are bad.
Okay.
Period. Just for the record.
So just like for the full record, T1 in single games this split, but spring and playoffs combined went 42-8 over 50 games. So, like, they dropped games in best of threes, right? So they must have dropped They must have won 7 sets to 1 in the regular season. So it's not like they were 2-0ing everybody, right? They're not completely invincible, but they win when it counts and have done so every single time the whole way through.
Well, I'm wondering if this is like what we're seeing. Like, there's this preference in like a what Eric mentioned is like drafting these like garbage like lane win game, but that's not going to challenge like T1 ever because they seem to have the dominant players. So I would love to see that punished at MSI.
Yeah, and it's that regional bot lane meta difference, I think, is going to be something we have to watch going into this, because there's clearly different priorities coming from different places in the meta we have, which we're going to see more as we go across more of these games. So T1 is going to MSI. We're going to see exactly how strong they were, because they very well might face roll the entire thing. That would not be surprising. But we'll have to see, because they, as Steven has pointed out, they might not have been tested that much by their opposition in Korea this split, because that's what an 18-0 record says. On the LPL, we're just going to talk briefly about it. I think, Eric, you had called Weibo winning the Weibo JDG series, and they did not do so. Do you have any comments on that, since I know you did watch that?
369 rolled a 9 in at least 2 of the 5 games in that series, which is very unfortunate. That is my commentary.
My internet commentary that I read said the Shy was bad.
He had a couple of down games. The game where 369 plays Kale and then they gank for him repeatedly and put the Shy behind means that maybe the Shy is really weak to Kale as a champion, because he'll try and, he'll do his Summit impersonation where he hard shoves the lane trying to get the win, and then the jungler's just always there, and then he dies repeatedly, and then they have GG go next in chat, because that sure is what that looked like. That's my brief summation.
So how did you feel about the Aatrox pick in Game 5?
Aatrox has been a counter pick into some of these tank matchups, because you have the healing and lane sustain and stuff like that.
But into the Kennen, though.
Into the Kennen is questionable. I think it's another one of these weird people opting to comfort Game 5 scenario kind of things. And they did want a laning tank that has sustain. It's just not good though. They pretty clearly falling behind. The other big issue with that series was still topside, but it's that Kanavi is very good. And so SOFM didn't get the same windows to punish that he did in their prior set against JJ, and that really set them behind. For example, the jungle Zed still looks like it might be secret sauce. However, he didn't have the same advantages on that game because Kanavi doesn't let you punish the same way.
Steven, I'm going to come to you to ask about a pick in this series.
Yes.
4 of the 5 games in this set featured a Viger in the mid lane.
Talk
about your boy.
It's strong. Baby Cage is a huge spell to have, and when my curiosity is that it's picked into Ahri and Rise a lot.
It was picked into Ahri all 4 games it was out.
Yeah, so one would usually say that they're opting into not roaming. We're gonna survive for this early laning phase and then unite into becoming the Voltron god. Because you put Ahri in a baby cage, she's in big trouble. You put a lot of these threats. Kennen is a big threat. Nara is a big threat. All of them are stopped by baby cage. And so Viger has a relatively safe time in lane. And then you just farm up and you do good things. Obviously, not all the time. It's not just an instant win lock-in. But I see... I'm very, very excited.
Well, and we're also living in a meta of immobile AD carries. Then when you play Predator Viger, you run faster than that AD carry does, and then you put your box on them. Congratulations. You get a summoner spell, or you kill them.
Yes.
Because, what's a Jinx going to do?
Yeah, Vygar's kit is just such a great thing, and when it's balanced and when it has its opportunities to shine, he's such a great character to play, and it feels good to pilot. And I'm the people that are attracted to that character and that are choosing to play that character, I'm very excited about. But I'll save that conversation for later as well.
I figured I wanted to let you go off on the pick a little bit now because I know we're going to come back to it when we get to NA.
It's one of the things where the player has to opt into it and know what they're doing.
Which was cool about this set because both players clearly did, because it was played by both teams and won on both teams.
It's a great pick into the Ahri. It really is. Historically, it hasn't been, so I'm curious what the nuance change is. Just because like Vygar's like not super excited about assassin picks that are decently mobile, but it's working.
The jungle side seemed very good against Vygar.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say.
Yeah, Zed doesn't care too much about Baby Cage. Like anything that's a dash, definitely big sad time. I wonder if we see more things like Blitzcrank or whatnot, because those are the ways you really punish a Vygar, is if you can force his positioning to change. Because if he can dance around the outside of a fight or facilitate the fight and choke points with Baby Cage, he's really hard to deal with. So you have to have opportunities to bypass what he's doing and facilitate how he's moving on the map.
It's kind of like a Blitzcrank. When you have Vygar and are ahead, the zone control and the things you can do with vision are disgusting. Which is another... We're spoiling EGTL Game 5. But, like, that was... with the Vygar being as ahead as it was in that game, you can't go into a bush that you don't have vision of because you're going to walk into a cage and die. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah, and some micro tech with Vygar is, like, his scouting abilities are huge with Q and W providing vision. Like, he's such a very strange, like, borderline utility mage, and I really like that.
He's been played in support before. Like,
yes.
The last time he was really played in pro play, he was played as a support in bottom lane.
But he still has the kill button.
He has the kill button. So JDG joins the top 4 in LPL with Royal and V5 and
Top eSports.
So that's your top 4. However, you may realize that the top 4 matchups were supposed to have started already and haven't. The LPL is on a COVID pause because of the COVID situation in China. Stop me if you've heard this before.
They were supposed to have it in Shanghai, which is the city that got like super locked down. So yeah.
It has been postponed to April 12th, which is the second time it's been delayed. It will be all online, so we're not going to get as much of the spectacle. We'll see if they can get it together by the grand final, but there's a reason there haven't been games in almost 2 weeks in the LPL, and it's because of the same thing we keep talking about, because welcome to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Doinbees mentioned on stream that LPL teams might not get to go to MSI, not just because of timing, but just because of Chinese policy. Like, they might not be let to travel internationally.
Which would be really sad.
That would be really bad. Just for competitive, like, integrity, but also, like, I would like to fight the LPL teams before Worlds.
Yeah. So currently scheduled for V5 top is scheduled for next Tuesday early in the morning, and Royal JDG is scheduled for next Wednesday early in the morning, and that's just the first stage of the double elimination bracket. So we'll have a couple matches to talk about next week, hopefully from the LPL, but it's on pause for a bit. So there's a reason we don't have that much more to talk about it because there just hasn't been anything. So we'll hope that games can happen, and we'll have some spicy early semifinal stuff to talk about next week. Beyond that, let us move to the LEC. I'm going to shed a tear for my narrative about Vitality being completely wrong, because boy did they get shit on.
that engine ain't going. It's got some problems.
Oh man, they got destroyed.
Holy hell.
Like, I don't even have that much constructive to say about that set. It was not close.
And I almost want to see that team improve because it's so much individual play that's causing them to just fall apart, in my opinion, and not synergizing together. Also, some draft issues.
Eric, do you agree?
So the problem is that this is a zero coach team. It's all players.
Yeah.
So there ain't no chance they fixing shit. Like someone's leaving before next split. Just straight up. There is no way that they do not have a roster shift by then. Because this is 100% a player-led team.
Do you want to take bets on who's going?
So it depends. I'm guessing Alfari, but
yes.
we'll see.
I'm guessing Carzy.
Might be both, honestly. Like,
yeah, they might implode straight up.
Yeah, because the weakest performing players are clearly Labrov and Selfmade, but that's just circumstance based off of the fact that when you have a team that doesn't know how to play on the map, your jungle and support are the ones who look suspect, and like that's just super awkward with like this team in particular because like I don't know what you want. Like personally, if I was going to try and optimize here, I would trade Labrov for a roaming support because Labrov is a lane-based support who's supposed to be playing for hands. Trade him for somebody who plays for other lanes, and then let Carzy live on an island like he's used to, like he had as his thing for like the past 2 years on Mad Lions. Just like
it's just like if you just look at the numbers and nothing else from this series, the one that jumps off the page is Flacked finished this series with a 36 KDA. 17, 1, and 19 across 3 games. 10 CS per minute, 700 some DPM through 3 games. That is absolutely bonkers. And yes, he did get to play Zeri one game, but like, really though, what are we doing here?
They were trying to play a roaming support with their laning support, and then Carzy would int like Carzy do, and then everyone int like Vitality do, and then it goes downhill real fast.
Yeah, and like just this hard Aphelios priority. We hinted at this earlier, where like Carzy picked Aphelios only the whole set. Yeah. Into Zeri and Jinx, and lost on it every game.
And so, like, if you watch the winning Aphelios into Jinx matchup from LPL games, you hard punish in lane, where like the supports can roam, but if the supports roam, you're like forcing Jinx flash is what you should be doing in that matchup, and it's very tricky. Like, hard to say what needs to shift there because like it seems like a lot has just gone wrong.
Yeah, and it's just like this was uncompetitive.
To be fair, I will say that I believe if Vitality played Misfits instead, they would still have gotten into the next round to get 3-0'd by G2.
Yeah, this was always meant to be the destiny.
Yeah, because we can go ahead and look at that other lower bracket matchup. G2, 3-0 over Misfits.
So a part of it is very unfortunate because that was like Misfits' first stage game, I think, or stage set with an audience, and it showed. Oh boy, did it show!
Mm-hmm.
They hard choked on stage.
Yeah, Vethio, MVP of the league, Vethio did not have a lovely day out at the park.
And it wasn't just him; it was like Schlaton was a bit better, but like Schlaton underperformed. Mersa really struggled, but like this is also Mersa's like first split in front of a live audience. Career period, first split LEC on stage.
I'm doing math real quick. Did Flacked finish the weekend with a KDA in the 70s?
It was very high.
Yeah,
it was absurdly high.
Because he went. He had 36 here. Yeah, he finished the weekend with a 75 KDA.
Isn't he? Remind me his path to G2. Isn't he like a super?
He was from
like,
Nordic League.
Yeah.
Wasn't he from their challenger team, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
think
from
he's
their
like
challenger team in
homegrown.
Nordic.
Yeah.
So Targamas is from K Corp and has more experience, but like
G2 Arctic is their Nordic
Yeah.
League team, if I remember right.
Yeah, because they have a
so
different
it's-
they have a wolf, don't they, as their logo or
all right.
something?
So he so I'm looking at Flacket on Teamopedia. So he actually had been on Mad Lions Madrid before going to G2, and before that he was on S2V. Where's S2V from? You also Spanish? Okay, so he's actually from the Spanish scene. He's not from
okay.
Nordic. Who's from Nordic? Someone was from Nordic who they brought up, I thought. But anyways, so he's from the Spanish scene, and like he started playing. It looks like in 2018. So
Yeah, he would. I know there's a lot of discussion when he was brought up, like, with like you're leaving these 80 carries, but he is showing up, and whether or not Targamas is like a part of that equation, like he's still showing up.
He's still showing up. Targamas is a part of the equation. A lot of it, though, is that the support players, specifically on the teams they played against, had very bad series. Like
Mercer with the casual 118-7 doesn't look great.
Yeah, like it makes it very easy to look good.
Well, and that's so then like I want to hit a couple more things with this series, but the preview is that now we have G2 Fnatic in the I guess it's losers bracket final round basically.
Yeah.
And you go from these to Hillsong, and that may prove to be the swing point of this. Is if there's a bottom lane in the league that you would expect to be able to punish this better, it is Upset and Hillsong.
But Hilly could just run it down, so there's that.
For Hilly to run it down, they have to have a top 5 in the world jungler on the enemy team. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Is Yanko still a top 5 jungler? We'll find out.
Thank you for putting the still in there, because he's got the track record, but
yeah.
Eric, what did you think of the Cassiopeia pick in Game 3 of this set?
I understand the intent. I don't like it. Because like a part of the Victor is good because his AoE thing you can drop in a choke point while standing in river or like further back, and then when they funnel into it, you get a ton of AoE damage on top of them while still being safe. Cassiopeia, Petrifying Gaze, is close range. They have to be like in your face, and that is not as convenient or easy. Like the Bane way Cassiopeia can be good is in fact with the W for the ground into long range engage, where you drop the W on the immobile AD carry or even the mobile AD carry because you can't get out of it, and then you land your Leona ult or whatever the hell, and then you
it looking at the opposing team comp, you have three champions on the top side that have dashes and mobility, 3 melee champions on the top side. So like in terms of the being able to utilize her shorter range into Silas Viego Fiora, seems like she probably would actually have a pretty good time using that in that context.
Unfortunately, Silas has a better use of Cassiopeia ult than Cassiopeia.
As Silas so often does with
I do want to point out like the Cassiopeia and Renata and Hecarim combination is kind of gross. Like grounding into those like not harder to hit but easier to dodge like big ults. Like when they hit hard, but if they whiff, like it's like eh. So like Cassio, with that composition around them is very threatening. But I understand it's pretty niche. And there's other things that might do it better, because like does an Orianna function better here?
Like
Yes.
the other, yeah. And like So, like I said, though, I like Cassiopeia, where you have other champions who can follow up on you being proactive with the abilities rather than you only peeling back. Cassio plus Renata is very clearly a defensive comp, where you want them to run at you, which means you have to already have dragon control or river control in order for the picks to be effective.
Which,
And
like, we
that's
can
like,
quibble about this. They won in 23 minutes with this comp.
yeah,
Might not have had all to do with the draft, but
yeah.
It does look like there was a broken team on the other side.
yeah. Like, I'm not going to judge the comp too hard by this game.
Yeah, they never even fell behind. Like, they just
because
strong-armed
we've seen
them.
options into the Silas. This was an interesting one to pick into the Silas specifically. I don't know what the order was, but
It sounds like that lane is like really grody, where Silas should get really hard punished. Unlike the other lanes people have been picking Silas into, like Twisted Fate.
Because that's like I found like Caps's picks in this game. Like Liss into LeBlanc is a classic LeBlanc counter matchup that I haven't seen many people break out this year, but Faker is one of the people who's been playing it, and it can do some really gross stuff to LeBlanc if you know the matchup well. And so like that, and then playing LeBlanc into Vex, I think is another interesting matchup based choice. So then like clearly if we read by those signs, the Cassiopeia into Silas is a matchup based choice, which I think is interesting.
And I think it's the more logical because I think everybody's figured out how to do the Silas part of the Twisted Fate Silas matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to shake that up to where even just like forcing uncomfortability seems to be, or like showcasing your knowledge of the enemy character seems to be like the winning strategy. You mentioned like Lysandra into LeBlanc in Faker's hands, where he has very intimate knowledge of LeBlanc. He knows what he doesn't want to see. And so I think this showcases like Caps over Vethio is gonna like have an intimate knowledge of like, oh, I know what I don't want to be playing against is Silas, so here's this. Have fun trying to figure this out on stage right now.
It is interesting that TF was banned these first two games and went completely through pick ban open in game 3, where I wonder if Misfits expected the TF to get picked because it had been left open and they had banned LeBlanc instead after losing with it and getting beat by it. I wonder if they just expected G2 to opt into the Silas TF matchup and instead G2 flips it up on.
That's what it seems like. I also am pretty confident Vethio is more comfortable in the Silas side than the TF side.
Yeah.
Because like that's another part of it is that the mid laners, especially like younger ones, are going to be much more comfortable with playing Silas as a champion than Twisted Fate in lane. Like the only player in LEC who actually looks good on Twisted Fate is Humanoid. And it doesn't work out when the enemy jungler is hard punishing you repeatedly. But it turns out that like most of these other games, it's like the TF is like losing lane, losing on roams, and like getting beat on Destiny first. And it's like that's unacceptable if you're picking this champion. Just straight up, like you're not good enough to be doing this.
So we've offered you the appetizer that Fnatic is the matchup waiting for G2 at the end of this. Let's get to the main course of this, the winners bracket semifinal, Fnatic and Rogue. And Rogue killing some narratives in a reverse sweep of Fnatic, a 3-2 win and a big turn and some very obvious changes in pick ban that led the way for them to go there. Let's start with that Twisted Fate Silas matchup, in which Twisted Fate was banned by Fnatic in both of the first two games of this set and left open to be picked by Fnatic in games 3, 4, and 5. Larson gets Silas into it in games 3, 4, and 5 and wins every single one.
And that's what I think kind of led to like later like, oh, we don't really want to deal with the Twisted Fate pick because it kind of just got clapped. Because that game had happened first, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
this was before the G2 Misfits series.
Yeah. So I think the flavor of Twisted Fate has worn it off just because that happened. Like, truly, I do. I think there was like, go back, like, oh God, we got to pivot. Like, we can't be like picking the Twisted Fate. We're gonna get creamed.
This isn't like playing Twisted Fate though. That's like the other thing. Like it's Humanoid and Perks who play TF.
Yeah.
Like and Humanoid's the one who's good. And like he was actually doing well in lane into the Silas. It's just that then like he goes to like ward his bush and then dies to Malrong repeatedly.
On Trundle.
Or on Trundle. Or yeah, it's like a like Malrong hard carried mid lane, which won them these games. Like full stop.
And the adjustments that were made, then we go to jungle next. Fnatic in games 1 and 2 gets Volibear both games, wins both games. They ban Volibear themselves in game 3. Rogue bans it in games 4 and 5. Another piece of that puzzle is taken away because it looked like Razork was having a very good sit on the Volibear in games 1 and 2, where Malrong moves to the Hecarim in games 3 and 4 after failures on Lee Sin and Jarvan in the first 2 games. Gets 2 wins on the Hecarim and then a win on the Trundle in the pivotal game 5. So the jungle pick priority, I think that shift in game 3 was a really important point pick-wise as well as Malrong's play-wise.
So like one of the other big things is that I think they changed side selection.
Yeah, I think
for
so
like
too.
and Rogue on red was much better. And so one of the other things that really baffles me that's been going on with global scene is Blippo specifically said in an interview that teams really like blue side because there are some really strong power picks that they could win with. And he said this during regular season. And so teams have been picking blue side in these series. Teams have been losing with blue side repeatedly in these series. So like red side has a higher win rate right now. And a lot of this is because of counter picks, where when you have counter picks, you have a serious advantage in what's going on, and teams have not been able to capitalize on getting that first pick overall. So it's pretty crazy how that also shifts this. Is like these like teams have done much better on red side. And that includes, getting gifted Hecarim in exchange for giving up first pick, and then using Hecarim to like hard win games.
But also Volibear strong. People sleeping on Volibear. Volibear real strong.
Yeah.
Interestingly, across all of LEC playoffs, the sides are equally 50-50 win rate split. Over 28 games in the entirety of LEC playoffs.
Are you counting the Misfits G2 and Vitality G2 sets? Because I don't care about those.
I can't filter those out of the stats on this front page. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cherry pick games to fill your narrative, Eric. You calm down.
That's fair. I guess it can be 50-50, but like that Rogue Fnatic set, Rogue sure won their games when they were on red side.
So then for comparison, so it's been 24 games, so it's 12-12. In LPL, there have been 24 games thus far in the playoffs, and it is 58% win rate from blue side.
Huh.
Ahead.
I'm just off, I guess.
I think it's a regional thing.
Yeah.
If we look at the entirety of LCK playoffs, which we've seen all of, it is 50-50. And then if we look at the LCS playoffs,
well, and maybe
there have only been 8 games so far. 7 of 8 wins in the LCS playoffs this far by red side.
Yeah. And that includes like the 3-0 100 Thieves stomp.
It's only been 2 sets.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a symptom number of like which teams know how to draft. Because if you know how to draft advantageously for your players and your capabilities, the counter picks are going to be more valuable. If you don't know how to draft and you don't know what's out there or what you're capable of like fielding, counter picks aren't as valuable, and you have to lean on your OP picks as a crutch.
So then you're thinking the teams who are like leaning on OP as a crutch are just losing because they can't actually win with OP picks? Because that's what we saw in NA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yes, that is the other side of the argument. It's like you have to lean on OP to look decent, but when those OP picks are a known element, the better teams are going to be able to play around that and beat it, which I think is what we've seen.
Yeah. What, like, specifically in NA, to me, it looks like it's a difference between BO1 and BO3, where in BO1, blue side is very strong because you don't have to worry about what the enemy you just pick the OP shit and you move on. Whereas with BO3, you actually have to adapt mid-series, or BO5, you have to adapt mid-series, and then red side, where you actually have thought about what the enemy team is doing in Big Ban, like carries a lot more weight. So it could just be that the teams that play best of 3 regular season are more prepared for this meta right now. But
saucy.
So a last point on picks before we move over to NA. Comp and Trimby get Aphelios for Khan games 3, 4, and 5 of this series, in addition to everything else that Rogue got to keep through all of these games. They get Silas, Aphelios, for Khan, all 3 games they win, which I think is interesting, considering Fnatic in the last game banned 3 junglers from Malrong, and it still didn't matter. But that's Aphelios winning into Jinx and a melee support all 3 of those games, where we saw the Jinx being the dominant force in some of the other sets we see this is where Aphelios wins. So I think the regional differences in the ADC meta continue to be something to focus on. What did you think of the Aphelios play into Jinx in this set?
I think it's support dependent on like Aphelios needs a lot of assistance in the team comps. You have to be very comfortable on that character to showcase what it can do. They were also like self-banning Zeri, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And comp looks really good on Zeri. So I think that this is like the choice of opting into is like if we remove the Zeri element from it, and then we can play into something that's a known matchup with Aphelios and Jinx. We're opting into what is like regionally perceived as the losing element, but knowing how to pair it correctly to look successful and then be successful. I would wonder if like that support pairing is different in the regions. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, I do like what you talked about with Rakan into melee support. Aphelios wins lane solo though, especially if you have roaming supports, like I said. And so like it's a winning lane matchup in farm. You should be ahead on farm as Aphelios. And like to me, like it was more like they talked about it in different things. Like Trimby had like 2 really good supports this split. He had the Lulu style where he's standing behind and shielding and buffing and peeling, and he had the Rakan style where he's going in. And so Fnatic was focusing on removing the Lulu style rather than the Rakan style, is what I remember like seeing in this. And it's like maybe that was a mistake. And they should have been caring more about engaged threats and counter engaged threats with how they were drafting.
Yeah, because the Rakan heck room was like disgusting.
Very good.
Oh yeah, it is. Especially in like those Baron fights where it like he got people out with the Rakan like combo, and then the heck room came over the top. It's just like, oh my god, that's abrasive.
So Rogue defeats some of the narratives about themselves, and the fact that not only do they reverse the sweep, but they win games 4 and 5 in 23 minutes a pop, like just dominance.
Can't have Rogue time if you don't get there.
So Rogue waits in the final, which is on Sunday this week, for the winner of the classic matchup of G2 and Fnatic in the semis, which will be on Saturday. So we will have our EU champion next time we talk. I will continue to, as I have so often before, I am a rogue believer, and I think they actually pull it off this time.
I thought Fnatic was gonna win this set, and then Malrong like destroyed Humanoid's soul. So now I'll swap to Rogue so that Fnatic will win the split. Why not?
Suddenly G2 appears.
Suddenly G2. Yeah, and
G2 says you can't actually kill us. We're still here.
Caps has looked on form. They've had the most sets so far. So like
they played a lot of games.
They're very hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't gotten beaten in 3 sets. So
I think it's G2 Rogue in the finals.
They haven't even had to play around top side in the past 2 sets. They've been playing around bot side, which is not how they played for all of the regular season. So that's very scary. Like, what happens when they actually play around Broken Blade again? You know?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. Like, I think G2's sneaky here, but they are an obvious underdog to the 2 top teams of the 3 remaining now. All right, let's talk about NA. We're going to talk about the Eric side of the equation first, because good lord. Speaking of NA teams losing with power picks, you know who's been banned in almost every game of every set we've talked about so far? It's Zeri. She's gotten through like once ever. Cloud9 gets Zeri all 3 games of this set and loses each and every one to 3 different picks from FNKY.
To be fair, the Zeri part of the equation wasn't why they were losing these games.
Yeah, but I thought you were supposed to win with the OP picks, Eric.
It's hard to win with the OP picks
especially
when your top laner is 0-7-0.
When your ADC has looked like one of the best players in the league all split, Eric.
He's still looked insane in these games. Like, their Nexus defense I forget which game it was, because they all blur together really bad. But like his team fight on the Nexus defense with Zeri in one of these games was absolutely bonkers. Like, Berserker can still play the game, but it's really hard when your top laner is 0-7-0 into Ornn.
3 games of Ornn for someday.
I think Cloud9 has 1 look.
And this is also, we've talked about a lot of different top lane champions across the league. Suddenly we're in NA and teams are picking Renekton.
Yikers.
Just someday.
No
one else
not just someday.
Who else picked
Renekton? Talk about that next set too.
Oh boy. Oh no.
In case you forgot.
Oh right, the game 5 with the Nidalee.
I'm mad at Impact.
Yeah. Gosh. He just decided to run it down and
it is Summit, not
Summit's honor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that pops out first at the pick ban is C9 gets Zeri 3 games and loses all of them. 100T gets to have Ornn, Lee Sin, and a control mage all 3 games and wins all 3 games. Victor Azir.
Yep. And Ornn time.
But I love the 100T bot lane pulling out the Lucian Nami bully lane. We haven't seen that much as it's gotten later in the split, but that was a classic really early in this split. Speaking of like winning lanes, that is the rudest winning lane in the bottom lane still in the game.
And I like when they picked it, because you've already showcased that like Berserker can play competently, but when you've completely siphoned away all of the resources that he may or may not get in any given game, because Summit is just getting pounded by Closer and Someday, and then Fudge can't even come because he's like trying to cobble together what's going on in top lane. Closer's coming to kick him in the ass. Then you break his spirits by then going for Berserker. It's like, you have no resources, you have no family, you have no friends. We're coming for you, and just completely.
It's your support's first stage game in front of a live audience, and his first like split at this level to like full punish.
So we the other pick that's popped out, we have glossed over Renata a lot in the sets we've seen. She's popped up in and out. C9 has Zeri Renata as their bottom lane in the first 2 of these games. Eric, what have you thought about Renata in pro play on this playoffs patch?
So specifically, like, first off, there's a huge skill diff where, like, when players know what they're doing, it looks good, and when players don't, it looks really trash. The other big thing is, like, you have to watch the ult. Like, so much of the value is on the ults and then getting the relive on your frontline champions specifically. Your odds of getting a relive on, like, on an AD carry are fairly low, actually. Like, in order for them to stick around, like, the better odds is if you have Viego or someone who's going in, who then can, like, get the reset, and then if it's Viego, get another reset. Is like where it's at. And so, like, I understand their intent with the pick in this set. However, like, Winsome had a very bad series,
Well, and, like,
it was putting
you
so
have,
much on him for team fights.
Since we did this salty run back in game 2, right? You have Renekton and Diana as your frontliners that are going in both games. Like, this is our plan. We have Renekton and Diana as our frontline. We have Ryze and Zeri as our carries, and then Renata to set stuff up. So, like, you've got these divers that are going in that are both not, like, big beefy tanks, but our frontliners that are going to be in there are going to be taking a bunch of damage. Renekton's going to try to do his thing with the Gore Drinker to gain back his health, but he's a really healthy target for the Renata ults. Seems to fit that perfectly.
When you're ahead.
So when you're because they tried that in, like, a couple of the dragon fights. They tried it in a couple of the dragon fights. Someday went in and died again so fast that it didn't matter.
Yep.
Like,
Summit.
And that's mainly because the game was already so accelerated that Renekton was a worthless champion.
Funny how you should say that. I also, like, since we're talking about the theory of Renata's revives, I find it funny that the game that they don't pick Renata is the game they pick Tryndamere. Because what's better than running it down twice in one team fight? Running it down 3 times in one team fight.
Thrice is the appropriate number.
So, I don't know. Eric, from the 100T side, what did you like the most from what they did?
Liked Closer Lee Sin a lot.
Closer is very good.
I also... Abadage has been the player who's looked the most uncomfortable for them in regular season, and he actually looked comfortable in this series. A part of it's because he's playing against Fudge. Sorry, Fudge. But, like he actually looked comfortable. So those were, like, the... like, there's that. The other thing that's super strange to me is, like... So Someday's been picking Ornn out of meta for a very long time. As his, like, I'm playing a tank yet I'm still going to somehow be ahead in CS and NA play style. And they were actually able to win with him on Ornn in these series. Yes, he was, like, super snowballed, but they actually hadn't been able to close games where he's been on Ornn in, like, prior years. So, like, this is either perfect setup where, like, finally they're all clicking with, like, how they want to play the game and everything's perfect. Or we're going to go into next week and it's like, oh, it was just because Somewhat had mental boom. And then it turns out, no, this is actually still highly suspect. And they just needed a booster
seed. The tanks haven't been floating around, right? Like, we saw in the Rogue Fnatic series, there was Sion, there was some Ornn over there. There's the big beefy boys. Malphite's getting banned in places. Like, the tanks are around.
Yeah. Ornn is going to be meta, and especially with the way the stats are working right now. But like, the fact that they haven't been able to win with someone on Ornn historically is where this is, like, more of a
notable.
Yeah, what's going to happen here?
I think it boils down to that, like, Closer was unlocked, and I think that happened because Abadage could, like, function, and when you have something like an Ornn Lee Sin combo, like, that's disgusting a lot of the times. I also want, like, did Blabber show up at any point? Like, he kind of just wasn't present from, like, my recollection, and I don't think he should get a pass.
So this series was highly suspect as a whole from Cloud9. the blind picking Renekton on like R3, both the first two games, in addition to some other things. Blabber is very clearly supposed to be playing around topside in these games. However, he was given junglers who had slower clear than Lee Sin in games 1 and 2. Summit hard shoved his lane into Sumday's turret before he could get clearance from his jungler in both of those games. So all of a sudden, your jungler, who's supposed to be playing around topside, is not able to play around topside based off of timers, and is suddenly left looking very unfortunate. So like he really didn't show up, but it's like it's really hard to say how much of this is like it looked like a whole team coordination issue where like Summit's trying to play this super aggressive style in top lane, yet the team isn't there to back him up. And then when the team wants to do things, Summit ain't there. Like the time they tried to in game 3 where Summit is playing TP-less Tryndamere, and the enemy team opts into a 4v4 fight on the bot side of the map. Well, there's an Ornwith teleport waiting for you. So there were very clear coordination issues in these games.
Yeah.
2-15-3 in a series is disgusting.
Close to LEP numbers. Very close.
It's real bad. But I have been a big Summit proponent for a while now, but that was gross. So we shall see what C9 does as they drop down. I think Golden Guardians has a non-zero shot at them if they're going to look like this.
That'd be hilarious, though.
I agree. I'm in on it. Anyway, we're gonna swap to the other set that happened this weekend, and I'm gonna ask the same question I asked in the text chat this weekend. Steven, were you scared?
I was a little spooked, I will say.
Did you pee a little?
No pee came out. Oh my
god!
So
obviously Steven and I have talked a little bit about this series while it was happening, as our allegiances have determined. I was very happy to be wrong about EG getting face rolled in this series.
Yeah, not so much.
So we made it to 5 games, and it was a really fun set to watch. I'm sure as a neutral, because we have the classic back and forth, which I believe I did Red Side 5-0 this series.
I think so.
I think it 5-0'd this series.
Yeah.
So the side selection did some stuff here, and here is where I will paint the sad picture of the LCK semifinal game 5 between Gen.G and Damwon, in which Gen.G goes down. Damwon builds a gargantuan gold lead on the back of their top lane Renekton and jungle Nidalee in a game 5. And EG, in their infinite wisdom, locks top lane Renekton and jungle Nidalee in their game 5 against a superior team and can't even get the real gold lead established. I just, like, there weren't enough jungle bans to need this. You just gotta win on Graves in game 4. Why are we picking Nidalee in this set? Why Impact are you picking Renekton in this set? What are we doing here?
Was there any consistency? Like these are just such radically different team comps each game. Like, it's really kind of silly in hindsight.
Okay, so the Rise Flex was sick. That's good shit.
I didn't like it.
That's good tech that I'm surprised more teams aren't showing with how meta Rise is right now. Because top laners could play Rise.
Which one was that? Was that game?
It was 4.
Yeah. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I'm not a huge fan of Whippo GP. I didn't know what the value was there. It felt like there was priority on it, so Maybe
Well, and
I'm
it's always been a comfort pick for him. Like, that's a
right.
thing.
Yeah, but I'm just like,
It's good into a lot of the blind pickable top laners.
yeah,
And then it's also really good into immobility carries. Speaking of the meta,
you're
'cause
right.
you just drop your ult in a fight, try and separate it.
Although speaking of the 80 carry meta, let's go there next. Let's talk about MF and Ashe being in this meta. Because I know the Ashe pick in game 3 and 4 was good once and less good once. Eric, what do you think about Ashe in the meta right now?
Ashe makes some sense because Ashe has a strong lane phase, and you're getting the value out of your engage ultimate that has long range. Also, I believe the Ashe in this series was using Ashe ultimate the same as Jinx uses Jinx ultimate now, which is mainly for scouting in early game. And it turns out that like that's very effective. Like I see a lot of
You know what else Ashe is good
value
at
out of
without her
Ashe.
ult? Scouting in the early game.
Yeah, like
She's got a whole
there's
button that does that instead. It's not her ultimate button.
yeah, but now with ultimate you have like 3. You know, it's like sick. Because you have the 2 hawkshot charges and then your ult. Like you can check like all the camps on the entire map. So the MF I think is trash, and I don't like any teams picking that. That should not happen.
I found it interesting that EG banned it in 2 games
That's
in second phase.
Maybe they know something we don't. Like
I feel like they know something we don't. It was
I
confusing.
think that these lethality carries in bot lane, the Xayah and the MF, have like seen a lot of scrim value where you're a hard winning lane, and teams are afraid of that. That's my guess. I think it's trash on stage, and you should not be doing that.
Because EG get the win with it in game 2.
Yeah.
Team Liquid didn't.
Yeah, like that's one of the more interesting things is the fact that we actually did go deeper into the ADC pool than just Jinx, Aphelios, and Xayah.
I mean, if you're gonna punish Danny and Hansama some way, decent targets.
Well, and so EG's wins in this set, right? They play the MF in 1 game and play Top Graves, which has been a little bit out of meta. Then game 4 they initiate the Turbo Flex, stick Graves in the jungle where he's barely been all split, stick Ryze top lane, and stick Lucian, whose only appearance we've seen recently was in the bottom lane and the mid lane. And it works.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. Keep that forbidden tech out of here.
Eric, do you think the flex picks are going to make a resurgence?
I think it's good for certain teams. If your top laner is Impact, so he's played long enough that he knows how to play Ryze, and your mid laner is JoJo, who spent his entire last split like hard stomping people with Lucian in mid lane, so he can actually play that champion comfortably at all stages. Like, it makes a lot of sense. If you have different players on your team, it does not make as much sense. For example, Golden Guardians should not do flex bullshit.
Yeah. So, and then we hinted about the Viger pick. The Viger pick coming out clutch in game 5 for Team Liquid.
It's on the Burger with the correct skin, I might add.
And the
it seems like
Predator Viger, it's gross.
Yes, it is.
It seems like a lot of people are opting into Shamrock Viger. I wonder if it's the green animations are like really what's setting people off.
It's like the tech.
Yeah, I think that's the tech. Is like it's secretly better because it's harder to understand hitboxes.
But
also, while we're talking about Steven's favorite champions, I'd like to note that EG acknowledges the bear 5 Volibear bans in 5 games.
God. Santorin Volibear is also very disgusting, so I
like,
can...
Volibear is one of his 2 best champions,
yep.
So yes. No, get that out of here.
But it's bear time. It's armored bears in the dungeon.
And then the Inspired drawing the Respect Lee Sin bans in all 3 of games 3, 4, and 5.
Absolutely.
And JoJo drawing the Respect LeBlanc ban in all 5 games. Like, TL's bans didn't change that much. They dropped Nautilus for Lee Sin in game 3, but banned Zeri and LeBlanc first phase the whole rest of the set.
So while it did go to 5 games, a lot of how TL approached the pick ban in this series to me was like from a position of utmost confidence in like their skills, where it's like, all right, we don't need to play hyper scaling ADC. We can have Hansama play utility BS champions and then get there that way. Or like, all right, how do they win games? Well, maybe if if JoJo's hands are good enough that he can get a few kills in lane and then transitions it elsewhere. So let's just not let him play the best anti meta mid laner in LeBlanc and make him have to play other boring matchups, or theoretically, except until they flex Lucian or whatever. But like
No, it was
like
just make him play Rise.
yeah, it
Because
was
he had Rise the entire series that he wanted.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and like make him play something where you're not going to get solo kills is the intent. And it's like that. So they had a very clear strategy for what they wanted to do and what their win conditions were in this set. There were just a couple of games where it didn't work out great.
So moving into the next set, Steven, what is your confidence level for TL going into the 100 Thieves set?
I think it is a easy clap 3-0 TL. No problem.
Eric, what is your confidence level for 100 Thieves going into the 100 Thieves TL set?
I think they're going to win at least one game. I actually think I'm obviously cementing a win here for TL, but I think 100 Thieves can actually win this with current form. And like, I wasn't actually that scared by what TL brought to the table so far. So like, they'll actually have to try in like flex in strategy this time more than they did in the last set, I think, and be more active unless they want to go to another game 5 scenario, where I don't believe Reaper will let 100 Thieves lock Nidalee Renekton in
I
this
agree.
game.
Anyway, 100T and 4. Easy.
Yeah, Steve gets more money every time that they goes to an extended playthrough. So, but 3-0 easy.
Well, I didn't say 5. If it goes to 5, I think TL takes it. I think 100 Thieves puts it in 4. We're gonna go with the upset. 100T's gonna be like, bitches, you tried to come for my crown.
It was our crown first of all. Hold on.
That's too bad.
We don't need to talk about whose crown it is first, because like that leads us down to very awkward.
We don't talk about the teams that aren't in the playoffs. Sorry.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they got a chant from the fans. We don't talk about them.
Speak on Desk was great stuff, by the way. Like
he's got to secure his retirement position.
Yeah.
No,
I loved the. I
don't know what you mean.
Oh yeah.
I loved the April Fool's Day post from Cadril about like TSM need a jungler who can get them into playoffs. So he signed with TSM, which was hilarious, right? Because it's Cadril. And then like Spica's response to this is, "Heard I'm getting traded to CLG, big sad." It's like with a teary face. It's like, are you though? Are you?
Anyway, EG FlyQuest, it would be very EG to lose this set after looking competent for 5 games after TL. That's very much what this team has done all year. So, yeah, FlyQuest at 5.
Yes.
I hope I'm wrong. I don't trust them at all.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think if EG does win this series, their comeback arc will be very big in lower bracket, because like this is the team that is rewarded the most by having more sets played in this run. Like the most rewarded team by double elim is EG in this playoffs. So like so it's actually almost a good thing for their prospects that they lost to TL in this best of 5, because now JoJo gets to get caught mispositioned in team fights a few more times and figure things out, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm calling FlyQuest in 5 so I can either look smart or be happy.
Wait, that's legal.
I'm thinking EG wins the lower bracket from the teams that are there right now. So we'll see how things go once they have to play we'll see how things go when they have to play against either TL or 100 Thieves. But like with Cloud9 current form, I think an EG will win the lower bracket.
I agree. They should. I don't trust them. I've kept thinking they would look good all year and then they would drop sets to bad teams. Like, trust level very low. Anyway, that's all the big leagues talked through, and we did it in right about a little over an hour. Not too bad. Steven, what you playing?
I'm still playing Pokemon Unite. It's still a fun game. I know we're starting the Star Fox playthrough on the channel, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. Me and Dan will be playing that, so I'm hyped for that. I need to beat Arceus over the weekend to hit the content schedule, so I should be beating Arceus so I can know how that game ends, and I won't be a poser. I am beating the games. I am going to complete games and not just buy them.
Eric, what you playing?
I'm playing more Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I just cleared the level with all the pirate skeletons. It's great.
I have been playing Gran Turismo 6 this week. Well, Gran Turismo Sport. Actually, that's what the PS4 one is.
That's not the new one.
It's not
all your
one.
all your cars are NFTs, right? Isn't that how that game works?
I don't have the new one yet, so that's not true.
Oh, okay. You know,
Gran Turismo 7 is the new one that's out for PS5, which I have not purchased yet. No, I'm playing the one that I bought for like $20 off the store like 6 months ago. Because I have been feeling like racing cars lately, and it's been quite a chill, fun experience.
That's not Mario Kart.
Get out and run some laps. You're right. It's been like literally 20 years since I last played a serious sim racer, and it's been very fun to get back to it.
David, for the record, is not a fun person to play Mario Kart against. He gets very angry when you blue shell him.
Are you very anti-blue shell?
Because I'm usually winning. There's context there. Let's not miss that.
He gets very angry when you blue shell him.
Man, here's your life lesson about me and my personality since I moved out from living with you, Eric. I've played a lot of Mario Kart and a lot of Super Smash Bros. Against a lot of children under the age of 11, and I've lost, so I am a lot more chill about that than I used to.
He has been humbled.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I
Fantastic.
can't get mad at the kids.
All right, we'll have to play Mario Party again sometime.
Getting beat in a Smash 1v1 by a fourth grader is not a pleasant feeling. But when I'm teaching them how to play the game and I want them to get better, you get over it. Like,
they know how to air dodge already, or like what's happening? They short hop on you?
I've been trying to
wave dash.
Look, if I can get them to hit the right buttons to actually use their special abilities, we're making good progress. But the fact that they're getting better is good. So yeah, there's your context for that. Although we haven't played Switch in like a month, so I gotta fix that.
Oh no,
because I get to play Switch at work. That's what my job's like.
Excellent.
So that's what we got. We'll be back next week. We will have EU finals to talk about, which will be spicy. We'll have seen all 6 NA playoff teams, and we'll have said goodbye to a couple of them. And we will see where we're at with everything else. We might even have some LPL to talk about. Hopefully, we'll see though. Anyway, follow the channel, go to the store, do the stuff, buy merch, enjoy yourself, and follow us, rate us, review us, do all the usual podcast shit. Anyway, this has been Reaction Time. We'll see you next time. Deuces.